Hi Capricorn, welcome to Yellow Cardinal Tarot with me. My name is Carol, and this is going to be a mid-month July 2025 check-in. And in today's reading, I'm going to be looking at in particular a pattern that's showing up for you at the end of the month. And patterns are very important for our healing journey because they tell us what's coming up from our shadow that needs healing. And so if you're like sitting with, situation where you're calling in the same type of people, where you're noticing that toxic people are showing up in your life over and over again, you have relationship issues, the same things over and over again, whether it's at work, with colleagues, with friends, family members, intimate partners, and you're finding the same situations occurring over and over again, and it's kind of like deja vu, where I've been through this before. These emotions have come up before, and what's going on. And so we're going to look at what patterns showing up. And then in part two, we're going to look at, what is it in your shadow that's coming up for healing? It's in your unconscious, and it's actually what's manifesting this external pattern that you're sitting with. And we always have to realize that whatever's coming up, as a pattern, it's because the universe is saying, listen, you need to look at this. There's something in your shadow that needs healing. And then finally, we're going to look at some advice from the tarot as to how you can begin to heal this, right? Healing journey is a process. It's not going to be healed at once, but I'm going to give you a little bit of information about how you can start. So let's begin. I'm using the Ehrenberg Tarot and the Radiant Rider-Waite deck to clarify. So let's begin with the pattern that's showing up for you, Capricorn, for this the end of July. One card, and you have the Knight of Swords. Next card will be what's coming up from your shadow for healing. That is actually manifesting this pattern. So one card. What's coming up for healing from your shadow? One card for that. Oh, two cards. You have the Ten of Wands. And then you have the Temperance card. And finally, advice from the tarot as how you can begin to heal this. One card. I don't think that flipped. The Ace of Wands has a tough time coming out, but it came out for you. All right, so let's clarify this, Capricorn. So Knight of Swords, a couple cards to clarify. I definitely want it to come out. Let's get one more here. Okay, so the Two of Swords and the Lover's card in reverse. To clarify that, Knight of Swords. 10 of Wands and Temperance. Let's see if I need one or two cards here. Nose is itchy. I don't know why tarot readers get itchy noses. Seen that happen quite often. And you try to ignore it, but it's like, that won't go away. And so you have to announce it to whatever reading you're doing that I have an itchy nose. So that gives me permission to sort of itch it. Okay, I need one more card does one. Okay, so we have Temperance card again. And maybe I should have ended it there had I stopped talking. And then the Four of Swords. All right, Ace of Wands. couple cards for that. Okay, one more. There we go. So, 7 of Wands in reverse. And this card that came in sideways, 7 of Cups. So let's start off with what pattern you're looking at this month. At the end of the month, you have to start off with the Knight of Swords. And the knights in my deck are what are called my freedom fighters, because it's a part of you, and we all have this part that wants the freedom to be authentic, wants the freedom to be themselves. It's a teenage part. Like, I think of teenagers who want nothing more than to be themselves. They don't want anybody to tell them what to do. And so I think this part of yours is coming out where you're tired of being told what to do. You want to go towards your authentic, you know, whoever you are, or what you think is meant for you. In particular, you have, it's the sword here, and the sword talks about our truth and our authenticity. So there's a real drive on your part to just be you. And it's really pulling at you, but it's in reverse. And so sometimes when this comes out, you can feel a real sense of like hopelessness sometimes, because it's a part that's been pulling at you for so long to be you, and yet maybe you're not listening to it, or you're not going in that direction. Or you can it can have some ungrounded anger as well, like, because, you know, there's anger. You get angry at the wrong people at the wrong times, because, you know, maybe you're fed up. You're wanting to go towards, you know, what your authentic self. And yet it's interesting that you have this part, but at the same time you have, I'm noticing that this 2 of Swords card comes out, and this individual has taken these swords. And swords represents our mental energy, our mental thoughts, you know, those things that go spin through our head often, the things we tell ourselves. And you have a blindfold. This person has a blindfold on. And it's like, I'm not even realizing that behind me I have all this water here. It's like you've put this blindfold on, and you don't even want to deal with some emotions that are coming up. There are emotions that are coming up for you. There's something that's pulling you that wants to get you to go towards you and your authentic self. But it's like, I don't even want to look at this. And you're really stuck up in your head, and maybe you got a lot of spinning going on, but it's like, I don't even want to look at this right now. But then you get this Lover's card that comes out, and this is an interesting card. There's a lot to this card. And it's, again, because I think you're so much stuck up in your head and not even wanting to deal with any of these emotions that are coming up for you, I can see how this is really blocked. This really represents a choice card. I think for a long time, when you deal with your emotions, I'm sensing that you kind of shut down, like this individual, where you cover your heart, and it's like, no, I don't want to get hurt anymore. I don't want to go there. I'm not doing this. I don't want to touch my emotions. This Lover's card talks about, you know, like I said, it's a choice. And so you have this masculine figure, very vulnerable, very, you know, naked. And the same thing with this feminine figure. Notice how the masculine is staring ahead, and the feminine figure is looking up towards the divine. And so we all have these 2 parts in us, this masculine and this feminine part of us. It doesn't matter what gender you are, you have both of these in you. And the Lover's card talks about a choice. You know, we can continue, or you can continue, if you like, to try to control this with your mind, which is the masculine side here. You know, it's just staring straight ahead. And it just tries to control things with their head. Because when we control things with our head, when we stay up in our head, we don't have to go into our body. And that's where all our emotions are. But this card says you have a choice. you have a choice. You can go towards your feminine side, which is that part of you that talks about your authenticity, your creativity, emotions, your emotional side, who you are. And it's very much connected to the divine, your intuition. But you got to be in your body to get connected to that. And so there's a choice here for you right now to maybe get back into your body, to go into your body, to get out of your head. And maybe it's time here that you start to, deal with some of these emotions that are coming up, because there's a real call here to go towards, who you really are, and start to peel away and process some of these tough emotions that are coming up for you right now. And so what is it in your shadow that's coming up for healing? That's definitely going to be related to this that you're feeling right now. And so you start off with the 10 of Wands, and it was quickly clarified by the Temperance card. So the 10 of Wands speaks about, you see this deck, the Ehrenberg Tarot, it takes a snapshot of the Rider-Waite deck, and it really has shown the 10 of Wands as being something quite heavy. You see how it takes that hand and it's got like this boulder that they're trying to hold up, right? And so I think when you were younger, because the shadow talks about things that happened to you when you were younger, your adolescence, and it's stuff we've buried. It could be our trauma, it could be our emotions that are related to that. Can be, significant events, things that people told you that you buried. It could be our gifts as well. Sometimes we can find gifts in here. And I think when you were younger, this tells me that, you came from a very, I'm going to say, a difficult childhood, because there's some real heavy burdens that you had to carry as a child, or maybe an adolescent, that you should not have been allowed to, but you had to carry some real heavy things. And the Temperance card comes in here and it says, I don't even know if there was like a middle ground here for you, and there's a lot that it was like pretty heavy. There was no middle ground for you. Very difficult situation here, coming from childhood where you had to carry some heavy burdens. To clarify that, you got the Temperance card again, and I was saying, maybe I should have ended it there, but there was one more card here that came out for me. And so again, this Temperance card that says, one of the things I thought of when I first got that Temperance card, when it came out beside that, it was like, I think there's a lot here sitting in your shadow, and it's not something that's going to be uncovered that easily or that quickly. It's like I said, there was no middle ground for you. And so Temperance speaks about this angel that's dipping their toe into the water, and everything to do with water on tarot cards has to do with our emotions. And I think you have to realize that, for you to actually touch your emotions, it's going to be, very difficult for you, because when you were younger, you have a lot of, I'm going to say, trauma around, a lot of emotions and trauma that are intertwined here. Because in order for you, and that's why this pull is coming for you to get out of your head and go into your body. But that's a very difficult thing for you, because you learned when you were younger not to touch your emotions. I mean, there was no middle ground for you. And so you needed protection. So you protected yourself by staying up in your head and not being in your body, because in your body, that's where your emotions are. So as a child, you couldn't have stayed in your body. It would have been impossible. And Four of Swords comes in as a final card here that says it wanted to come out again after the Temperance, and it said, this card talks about, usually for me, if it's not the shadow, it means like rest. It means a time out, a period of time out so that you can start to deal with some of these emotions, to try to, like kind of like a recuperation period for you. But that wasn't even allowed for you. You didn't have that when you were younger. There was no safe place for you to be able to show your emotions at all when you were younger. And so what advice does the tarot have for you right now? Someone that's very much living in their head, doesn't want to touch their emotions, doesn't want to get into their body and start to heal. Well, you have the Ace of Wands as a gift or an offer from the universe, and the wand is about a creative purpose, a new direction for you. And it's like, are you willing, Capricorn, to take this wand and to go into this new direction that the universe wants to take you? And it's a creative direction, a creative purpose. And by that I mean, are you ready to do something different than the way that you've been living? Are you ready to put yourself first? It can be something that small. And it's like you have to decide, this is what, here's the wand the universe wants to give you. Do you want to take it? Do you want to go into that new direction for yourself? Because underneath that, it's only you that can decide this, right? Underneath that, you have the Seven of Wands here. And this is my favorite card in the deck. It reminds me a lot about myself. It's in reverse here because I know there's a resistance on your part. But I think you're thinking that, this person has decided to go in that direction, right? This is the Seven of Wands. And they're realizing that, look at these people below them. They're all going, you get down from that pedestal. Who do you think you are? There's people around you that don't support you and don't validate you. And maybe that's your situation. Maybe there's a great fear of doing this, of taking this wand and going in a new direction for yourself. Because I think, here's this pull, this part of you that's been pulling you, going towards your authenticity, right? And I think there's a part of you that realizes when you don't have the support, you don't have the validation around you. But sometimes we got to get on that pedestal ourselves. Sometimes we have to take that wand. You are the only one. It's a single wand. It's a single person. You're the only one that can take that wand, Capricorn, and go in that direction. I know right now that the Seven of Cups comes up, and it's a card of some big distractions going on here. Look at all these things coming out of the cup. He's trying to choose, right? Maybe that's you trying to decide, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I think you need to decide, what are you doing that's distracting you? Are you keeping yourself busy? I think you're very, very distracted. This is also a card that I say it could be a card of dissociation. Dissociation is the card where you keep yourself up in your head all the time. And so I think it's time for you to start to look at, well, what am I doing that's causing me to become so distracted in my life, so dissociated, so that I don't have to go into my body, get out of my head and start to feel some of these emotions and start to heal some of these childhood memories, these childhood trauma that's sitting here, that's waiting for you to start to heal. And so I'm going to leave you with your July 2025 reading. And I'm also going to say that, have compassion for yourself for what you're working through. This is a very difficult journey, the healing journey, but it's the most important one of your life. So take care, and I will talk to you next month. Bye-bye.